again, I can't go to India every year to make this happen, but connecting more with my community here in DC. I think in the past year, I've connected with a few more people around here. There's a woman that lives here in the DMV area, and she is a South Asian woman who's actually an artist and a climate activist. So she just had a art exhibit where she used her family's saris and she painted on them. Every sari that she painted on has like a different interpretation of her climate change and the global warming that we're going through and her experience with it. So that was really cool. I never thought I would have the opportunity to meet somebody like that, but because of a group that I started a couple years ago called DC South Asian Environmental Group, it's opened up these opportunities for me to meet these incredible people and these incredible women who do stuff like this.
This episode is brought to you in part by our sponsor, Tidal Influence, a Californian ecological consulting firm who proudly supports environmental education and all of the diverse conservation efforts that Pelecanus works to highlight. Visit their website at tidalinfluence.com to learn more about what they do to conserve our coastal resources and how you can get involved. Welcome to a bonus episode of Pelecanus, where we highlight the 2025 recipient of our Carrie Wilson Memorial Scholarship, Sanjana Ramesh. Sanjana is a graduate student with Project Dragonfly from DC. Now, we already talked to Sanjana last year where we did a deep dive at all the great work she's doing, but this year she is our scholarship recipient. So let's get caught up with Sanjana and hear how her research trips to India and the Galapagos went. Sanjana, thank you for joining us again. As you know, I'll let everyone know that you are the 2025 Carrie Wilson Memorial Scholarship winner, and we're bringing you back this year. We wanted to get an update on all of your happenings, everything you've been doing in the conservation world. So, congratulations on winning the scholarship, and we're really happy to have you again.
Thank you so much. I am very happy to win the scholarship this year. I was very excited when I got that call from you. It was a joy doing the podcast last time, and I'm sure it'll be the same again this time. I sent it out to family and friends, and they were very excited to hear it last year. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. I think you might be our first repeat podcast.
Love
we might
it.
have had, I can't remember. We might have had someone pop up, in a different way. But So you're our first, first follow up to kind of check in on what's been going on. So
yeah.
Last time we talked all about your background and what you're doing in DC and everything, and we can talk about whatever you want. But right after we talked last time, you went on your Earth expedition to India. And then since then, you've also gone on another one. So, let's just get an update on what you've been doing. And if you want, we can go straight into India or, head whatever direction you want to go.
Yeah. Well, I think I remember talking to you right before I left about wanting to go to India and experience all of the culture and see it in, a very different way than I'm usually used to. Of course, seeing it in a conservation perspective, which was exactly what I got. I mean, it was an amazing experience. I was in a different part of India than I usually go to. We were in Pune. So we were in the northern part of the Western Ghats, and I, with my family, have been to the southern half before. So it was just very interesting seeing how different it was in general. Still windy mountain roads that, I wish I had taken some Dramamine with me, but still very beautiful. But this time we got to work with on the ground partners that partner with Project Dragonfly, and specifically with the AERF, which is Applied Environmental Research Foundation. Yes, foundation. They were great. They protect the sacred groves around areas in like rural areas in Pune. that are around the Western Ghats area. So basically, they're going into these communities. They've been around for 30 years. So this is the work that they've been working on for 30 years, that they go into communities that have very important either flora or fauna that they're trying to preserve. So either the big trees or the hornbills that are native to that area. And they're hoping to get the communities to be involved with the conservation work that's going on. And it was very interesting and encouraging to see how they have worked hand in hand to make the communities better and not just take from them. They want to like work with them, help them, you know, get some funding, or the money's basically going straight back into the community, which is really nice. So that was very inspiring to see. And one of the CEOs is a woman as well. So just being able to see, again, that South Asian woman in power in the conservation field, again, very inspiring. Yeah, I think it was a very interesting trip for me on top of that, because growing up, I always used to go to India with family, and my mom would love to take us to all of the very religious sites and all the temples. And me and my sister would be very annoyed by that. And I think I remember mentioning this to you last time as well, that we called it her temple run. So she would take us to all these places and we were like, okay, this is so boring. But now as an adult, I went voluntarily and got to see it in a conservation perspective. So it was actually one of my favorite trips that I've taken there, because I got to learn more about my culture, my religion that I feel like I'm sometimes very removed from living here, and, you know, learning about it with an eye of conservation and seeing all these amazing hornbills and the work that people have done to restore the areas.
You said a couple things that I wanted to follow up on. So I mean, first off, it's got to be. I mean, it's we talked about it last time where you were kind of like anticipating that it's going to be really cool to visit a place that you'd already been to multiple times or like been
Mm-hmm.
near to, and that's very close to your culture, but in a
Mm-hmm.
completely different way. To where now you can, like you said, you had the temple runs, those things where
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. I mean, it was the same thing. I probably said this last time too, but growing up, my dad would take us birding. We're like, this is so boring, and now
You're
we're
right.
all of us are biologists or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or in the field. And so being able to like, what everyone has to do is find their own way to connecting to their culture, and you did
Exactly.
that, which is really cool. So you found it through conservation, which has got to be like a pretty transformative experience, I think. But one, I wanted to follow up on. You said that there was the sacred groves that you
Mm-hmm.
visited. So what exactly are the sacred groves? Is it just like a culturally sacred, or is it like a mixture of both like sensitive plants and animals and culturally sensitive
Yeah.
areas?
Yeah. So a lot of these areas have their own small little temples that they've built inside their villages. So that would have like a deity that's very specific to that village, that town, that community. And so they want to, build something around it, to like a small little temple or something. But there's that. So I guess that kind of makes it the sacred part. And then on top of that, they have all these very, ancient trees and, things that are going extinct around it. So talking with those communities to be like, hey, like we want to preserve this, but also still respect what you have created around here. How can we do that so you're not like clear cutting a forest and doing that, but working together with them to make that happen. So yeah, it was very cool because we learned a lot about the different deities again, and some stuff that I didn't even realize, or maybe I knew at some point when I was a kid and then chose to ignore. But it was really cool. They had us do a couple like silent meditations and just like really be one with nature, and in a lot of ways it was very like a spiritual trip as well, which was cool. Definitely had some of those moments sitting in those in those like forest temples, and just, breathing in that fresh air. And of course, it was monsoon season, so breathing in all that water. But yeah, it was very neat. Actually, yeah, yeah. I even spoke with a few of like family and friends that live in India, and I was like, honestly, it like really opened up my eyes of like how much of our culture and religion actually has been rooted so much in conservation, unknowingly so. I actually wrote a piece for World Wildlife Fund about it, and like how much, we talked talk about it, and it's been passed down through generations about like how we conserve, like making sure we don't waste any food, always reusing like the plastics that we have, like, even to the point where there's a part in the paper that I wrote that my mom told me about, where they use cow dung to put on the floors for heating, and just stuff like that that makes it's from the very roots of who we are. So it was cool to see that, and it really made me want to like read up on our mythology and stuff like that. Haven't gotten around to it just yet, but it definitely inspired me in a different way and made me more appreciative of the places that I've been to with my family as I've grown up. Um, and it was interesting just even talking to like my uncle and our friends. Like, I don't even think they're aware of how much it is, like how much conservation is rooted in our culture. So it was cool.
Yeah, we've talked about this a few times with a bunch of people, and it's to conserve a place is to love a place, and it's not even just the place; it's the culture around it, it's the people around it,
Yeah.
and to want to like involve yourself is at some point we all kind of like it just clicks with us, and on a similar level we call it we've called it before the green blur.
Mm.
So if you're just like going for a hike and everything's just green, but as soon as you start to like engage and learn different plants and like what things
Yeah.
are and like, rock types or whatever, then things start to like become alive to you. And then it could be in the same way culturally where you're like, you're just going to go, oh, this is great. I'm going for a hike. I'm in India. This is fun, and
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of your classmates had a great time doing that exact thing.
Yeah.
But then I'm sure for you there was just that extra level of like, oh, something just kind of opened, just
Yeah.
unlocked like a little bit of your own history and
Hmm.
connection with the culture and your own family.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's really cool. With the Project Dragonfly Earth expeditions, you while you're having a great time exploring India, you also have classwork you have to do.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
and you have to end up doing some sort of study and a paper and all that. So what did you
Mhm.
actually end up deciding to study while you were there?
Yeah. So before I went, we had the biology and age of technology class. And for that, I wrote a paper, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to write this whole paper about how I want to increase like wildlife education for kids in these rural areas. And what would be cooler than like bringing in iPads for these kids to use, like the Seek app by iNaturalist. And I was like, okay, this is my whole plan. And I was like, maybe I could even get a grant out of this. And then I was like, but let me go to India and figure it out first. And I went there with all these high hopes, and I still have them, but I think I realized how much red tape there actually is with stuff like this. And I think it was very eye opening. And I think it was very needed for me to go through that experience to realize, okay, maybe I have to pivot a little bit, because me being a student who's living in DC, who does not get to go to India that often, as much as I want to make that immediate change and like bring all these ideas in, first I would be going into a different country to try to do that. And I think the first and foremost thing was I needed to have more conversations with the people that actually lived there. What do they already have in place? Like, what do they want? What do they see? Do they see any interest for this in the school systems? And there's also just like the governmental red tape that comes into changing anything. So I loved my idea. I think I even pitched it kind of to the AARF team, just being like, hey, so like if this is ever something you guys want to do, here's an idea. But they have their own ways of doing things. And of course, they could maybe work in a different community. But yeah, it was interesting to have that idea coming in and then having to reframe it. I think it was necessary and eye-opening to how much stakeholders in the countries have to be a part of the conversation to make any changes. And so, yeah, after that, I came back and I tweaked my ideas a little bit. And I was like, okay, I still want to focus on South Asian women specifically and in the conservation space, either increasing awareness about them, like those who already work in the area or in the field, and increasing awareness of the job opportunities that like young kids could want. So yeah, just kind of changing that and making it almost fit a little bit more into the work or what I'm able to see in DC, because again, I can't go to India every year to make this happen. But yeah, just changing that and connecting more with my community here in DC. I think in the past year, I've connected with a few more people around here. There's a woman that lives here in the DMV area, and she is a South Asian woman who's actually an artist and a climate activist. So she just had a art exhibit where she used her family's saris and she painted on them, and every sari that she painted on has like a different interpretation of her of like climate change and the global warming that we're going through and her experience with it. So that was really cool. I never thought I would have the opportunity to meet somebody like that, but because of a group that I started a couple of years ago called DC South Asian Environmental Group, it's opened up these opportunities for me to meet these incredible people and these incredible women who do stuff like this. There's another South Asian woman that I haven't gotten to meet just yet, but we've had some communication. But she wrote a children's book about going into nature. Because one thing that's not very common in our culture is to go out camping or hiking. We don't really do that with our families much. It's just not really a thing that, I think a lot of people are aware of. So she wrote a whole children's book about it. And I was like, okay, that's incredible. There's another girl that I met recently who's a chef, and she's trying to create more sustainable eating and sustainable like dinner parties and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been interesting and very exciting to meet these people around the DMV, and just I hope to increase that awareness around them.
Yeah, you said a couple things there that I think I've also come to the realization over the last like 10, 15 years. Well, or first off, you kind of said like, you had your course, you had your idea, you were going to do this, you were going to do that, and everything's going to be great. And then when you get there, you're like, that's not at all what is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that I overlooked for a long time when it came to higher education, was that like sometimes that's the lesson. It's like, yes, you learn the facts, you learn the, programmatic stuff, but then you also learn like how to adapt and how to shift in a sustainable way, and how to make a project sustainable and actually work, not just coming in and saying, you're not going to be like a, Silicon Valley tech bro and be like, here's how we're going to do it. I don't care how you want it. We're going to do it this way. It's like, no, we actually have the best movements that last the longest are going to be grassroots. They're going to come from the bottom up. The other thing that you just mentioned is like, you started this group a few years ago. And then, one thing we're also realizing with the podcast, the nonprofit we have here, is like sometimes just keep on keeping on is success, and just meeting more people, just engaging with more people. You don't have to, I think it's kind of ingrained in, the American culture of just like you're either growing or you're dying. And sometimes it's like just being there and putting things out and meeting people, that's a success, you
Yeah.
know? And especially with the political climate right now, it feels like we're failing sometimes. But I think
Mhm.
just the fact that there is a place for people that have like mindsets, those kinds of things in the DC area, and that you've given them that avenue is fantastic.
Yeah. No, it's been a lot of fun. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah. Just I'm sure going through the program as well, especially with our master plans, you keep tweaking it through the 2.5 years. It just keeps changing. So I think that is definitely one of the biggest things that I've learned. And in a different life, I probably would have been disappointed that I've had to keep changing it, but I think it's actually been kind of exciting, and it's making me use my brain a lot to figure out how to make it work so that it's something that I enjoy, but also other people are still getting the benefit out of it. And in some way, there is still that that idea of community and South Asian women and everything. So yeah, it's been cool. And yeah, starting that group it's it's just me kind of doing things, and I'm taking it slowly just because, full-time job and classes and stuff. So I don't try to do something every month or anything like that, but it's all honestly just coming together very naturally. Recently, I had the opportunity to um, collab with a couple people for a happy hour, and it was actually with DC Climate Week. So I'm sure you know about like the New York Climate Week and everything. So that's pretty popular. So they decided to bring it down to DC for the first time. And yeah, we just had like a South Asian people in environmental fields happy hour. And it was very cool. Just, everybody connecting. And we didn't do much, didn't talk about much, but it was nice to see everybody in the same space.
I mean, I think that's great because it's like, I mean, I don't know how you are, but I know trying to enter a new space and enter a new group, it can be really difficult.
Yeah.
And, as inclusive as we all like to say we are
Right.
in this field, sometimes we are just kind of like, I don't know you,
Yeah.
it's like, like, oh, that's your thing, I'm not, you know, but the fact that you're even creating that space that's open, and I can imagine that you don't have to be a South Asian person to be able to join,
Yeah.
but the fact that you have that space where everyone, no matter what you want to just join, then you're great. We're
Yeah.
happy to have you, because
Yeah.
any group needs all different mindsets and lifestyles and abilities to help it grow. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
But I want to hear about, you just got back from the Galapagos, and so the Galapagos, is that your last trip so you're almost done?
Yep, this is my last semester class. I have some stuff due today, and yeah,
You got
just
like
my
3 months.
capstone and my other class left, and that's it.
All right. So tell us about Galapagos. I'm sure it was beautiful, and I'm sure it was hot, and
Yeah,
and you saw a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, tell us what were able to do, and what you were able to see, and what you studied.
yeah. So the Galapagos didn't really have much to do with my, master plan or anything like that. I think India definitely covered that. But I mean, I saw Galapagos on the list of options that we had, and how can you not? Like, it's the Galapagos. So, yeah, it was just as incredible as you would imagine it to be. Took a really long time to get over there, but definitely worth it. I mean, the funny thing is, I'm not a strong swimmer. I should say, not even a good swimmer. But I was like, okay, we're just gonna do this because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. We'll figure it out. I'll wear a life vest, whatever. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did all of it. Um, we went camping for about 4 days in the Highlands in the island of Santa Cruz, which was very cool. Also, I hadn't been camping since I was 8 years old, so that was very intense, but very rewarding at the end of the day. We got woken up by roosters, I think, every day at like 3 o'clock in the morning, which was very interesting. Lots of spiders everywhere, but yeah, you come out of it and you're like, okay, I did that.
Yeah, no one
Um,
tells you about the roosters. They don't crow in the like at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. They all night.
all night. That was my
All night.
first experience with that. Yeah, I was like, okay,
Terrible.
they're starting. It must be like 5:30. Great, I'll start getting up. I looked at my phone. It was 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
went on for so long. Ugh, but I mean, hey, part of the experience for
Yeah.
sure. Um, yeah, so we did 4 days of that, and we saw, of course, the giant tortoises, which was incredible just getting to see them in one of the reserves that were over there. And gosh, what didn't we do? We we took dung samples from them and we sifted through them to see, what they ate and what was in season. Um, we got rid of invasive um, giant African snails, which were recently brought over. I believe it was only in 2012 or something like that, because of the popular trend to use snail mucin in skincare. So it's a big thing in Korean skincare. It could be in some others as well, but from what I know, Korean skincare. So somebody brought it over to, I believe, probably the mainland first, and then it made its way over to the Galapagos Islands. But they thought this would be the same snail mucin that you can put on your face. So they were like, oh, we'll get rich. It's not. It's the kind that gives you meningitis if you put it on your face. So since then, there has been, I mean, they're everywhere. So we worked with one of the teams there and worked on a invasive species, removal, and we got to work with some scent dogs and see how they work to get rid of them as well. It was very interesting because we went once in the morning and with the dog, and the dog found so many more than we did. And then we went back at night, and we were a group of like 20 people, so you would think that we could find a lot, but no. And then we went back at night, and they're all they're like a nocturnal species, so there was plenty more. I think the count difference was like, I think it's like 100 and 150 maybe in the morning, and then like 300 something in the evening. So it was very cool to see that, and how much work they've been putting towards that. I think they do that year round every day, which is crazy to think.
Do you remember what the impact the snails are having? Are they just like eating the native plants?
Native plants, a lot of crops. Yeah, I think they're just kind of a nuisance to everything around.
And that
But yes, a lot of the plants.
island biogeography, they like everything's already so sensitive.
I
So
know.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so, and then past that, just seeing all the animals, the blue-footed boobies, the marine iguanas. We of course went snorkeling when we got to Isabella Island, which was, I mean, I don't think you can ever really compare snorkeling with sea lions to anything else. I mean, it was so cool. I forgot all the fear that I had of the water because they were just like, they were almost like mocking me because they would come straight up to me and then dive under and then pirouette around. One touched my feet with its whiskers and swam away. It was so cool. But yeah, lots of juvenile blacktip reef sharks, some rays, sea turtles. We saw an octopus. I mean, just anything and everything. It was incredible.
That's awesome, and that's one thing I like about the Project Dragonfly program, but specifically the Earth Expedition. What's there's the AIP, and what's the one you're doing called GFE?
GFP. Mm-hmm.
GFE. Um, one thing I like about it is like they want you to have a master plan. You kind of need a through line through all of your courses, but they're also saying like they want you to like, well, experience something else. So like
Yeah,
just because you're super into, one thing doesn't mean that's all you get to study.
exactly.
Where, if you're at like a normal, traditional master's program, they're like, well, you're going to study snails for the next 3.5 years.
Right.
You're like, all right, I guess I'll do that, or
Yeah.
2 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But this is where they want people to gain more experience and go somewhere that may not be directly aligned with your master plan, but it might inform what you're doing. And I mean, I experienced the same thing.
Yeah.
Looking back, I probably would have studied something different, but
Mhm.
it's still, I think that's one reason I really like that program. And I guess on those same lines, so you said you're done, and that's like December. So you're in the thick of it now to
Mhm.
finish up the master plan by like November-ish, right? So what I think we talked about it a little bit last time, but now you definitely, I mean, if you don't, you got a lot of problems. You got to know
Yeah.
what your master plan is now. So tell
Yeah.
us what that is and what's going to come out of it.
Yeah. So it is definitely like to do with South Asian women in conservation and increasing the awareness around them. So yeah, I think we have, oh gosh, what is the name of, there's so many different acronyms. My IAP class, the one that comes right after our Earth expedition. So that is basically my plan for that one is to kind of do a survey of the people that are in the DC South Asian Environmental Group and even just my friends who live around the DMV area to ask them what their awareness is of people, South Asian people in conservation. Can they name any? Globally, around here, what is it? And then kind of work from there and create opportunities for them to meet the people that are in DC already and sort of do a little piece on them, either interview them or highlight them on my social media pages. Just because, I mean, I know I moved into DC thinking there is nobody here that looks like me who does the same stuff. And thankfully I was proven wrong. And that's the whole point. Like I want to prove to people that there are people that look like us who do this work and we can easily get into this field. And it is not as isolating as I felt like it once was. So yeah, continue that, you know, the exposure of them.
Yeah, no, I mean it's awesome because like we said earlier, like especially when you're young, you're coming out of college, you're just like, what am I going to do? I know I want to do something in this field, but like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's easy to get discouraged by, people's attitudes. Some people are really protective about their programs, or like they see you as a
Mm-hmm.
threat to take their job or something,
Right.
or like, they're going for the same job you are. So it's it, it's really cool to have. Well, one, what I like about what you've done is you noticed that problem and then went, well, I want to do something about that. I don't want anyone else to experience what I just had experienced, and say like, I want everyone who is especially South Asian women, want to be like, I want to be in this field. Here's a group, and then amongst yourselves, you're like, oh, this job opened up, or this training
Right.
opened up, or let's get together and talk about this or whatever. So, I think
Yeah.
that's what's. I mean, that's how all change has happened. It's like
Mm-hmm.
someone just went like, I don't want someone to have to experience what I experienced, even if
Yeah.
it's not like the most traumatic thing. It's just like, well, this can be better. Let's fix it. And so that's what's really cool about it.
Yeah.
Um,
And yeah, it's been interesting because in some of my other classes, I did focus a little bit more on the women who live in India and are on the front lines of this conservation impact. And they are the women in these rural villages who are, going into the forest to get their timber or get whatever that they need, products that they need. And they're coming up against, these tigers in these villages. But they are so important for, just the community. But nobody's giving them the correct money to even support their family for all of that work that they're doing. And yeah, I mean, it just goes so deep, not just in DC, but also back home. And I think that there's something to be said about that as well. So yeah, just putting my capstone together and the whole portfolio together is like some of those papers are in there as well. Some of the work that I've been doing here in DC, because yeah, it's all connected.
You know, not that I have all the answers, but it sounds like you're doing everything right, like you're doing everything you should do. And people, like I said, I'm getting old, and people ask, young people that are in school or just graduated, like, what do I do? And it's like, the only thing you can do is get experience
Yeah.
and do that however you can. If that's through a school program, or if that's through like a program like this, or
Yeah.
volunteering, or interning, and it sucks that no one wants to pay you when you're trying to
I
get this experience. If you're lucky, maybe you can, but if you have like a goal you want to get somewhere, that's the only way you're going to do it, is to actually get that experience.
Yeah,
And
that's why I keep maybe not pushing, but I keep encouraging a lot of people to apply to Project Dragonfly, because I'm like, you won't get more firsthand experience through this, like,
yeah.
and also get to explore things that you might not have even thought about. So yeah.
It's really cool to see what you've grown. And I guess to kind of transition into the scholarship side of things, Carrie Wilson was someone who's really important to me and to a couple of us in the organization. And she unfortunately she passed during COVID. And we had the idea of doing a scholarship in her name, and then she got really sick. And we've been really, this is the favorite thing we do every year, is to be able to help people out in her name, because that's all she was about, was helping people out. I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am without her, and there's dozens of people that can say that exact same thing. And especially younger women in a field that is based on helping people and helping communities and helping disenfranchised, whatever, if it's wildlife, people, communities, whatever.
Right.
That's all that she was about. So yeah, I think she would have been very proud of what you're doing. And I think well, I would say you guys would have gotten along really well, but she got along with everybody. So so yeah, we're really happy to be able to help you out on your journey.
Thank you, Austin. It was definitely, I mean, just getting to meet you even last year and having this chat with you and getting this opportunity to do this podcast. I mean, I think I told you last year too, is on my pipe dreams bucket list. So this was a great opportunity, and I think it's opened up a lot of doors that I don't even think I would have imagined. So I'm very appreciative of you guys over at Pelecanus.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, right? Is just when no one's self-made. No one, everyone always has support, whether it's family
Yep.
or whatever. So all we ask is, what we're doing is paying it forward. And it's just like, and you're doing it with your DC South Asian Environmental Group, right?
Yeah, I need to find a different name,
Yeah.
honestly. Make it shorter.
And so you're offering that space for people to, find those avenues and meet people that can, collaborate or whatever. And so that's all we ask for everybody, is just to pay it forward. And, it's, making a difference in one person's life is worth it.
Yep.
Well, Sanjana, thank you so much. Again, we're super proud to be able to help you out in your journey. It's like I said, it's the favorite thing we do every year, is be able to do this. And, thank you again for joining us and telling us about your trips the last 2 summers. And, stay in touch. We want to help. We want to engage. We're obviously on different sides of the country, but anything we can do to help your organization, and other anything we can do, we're willing to help. And good luck on the journey.
Thank you so much, Austin.
Thank you so much to Sanjana for taking the time to talk with us and for all the amazing work she's doing. The Carrie Wilson Memorial Scholarship will be open for applications for Project Dragonfly students again in the spring of 2026. Check our pelecanus.org scholarship page for more information. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that takes tax-deductible donations if you'd like to contribute to the Carrie Wilson Memorial Scholarship, or to Pelecanus in general. So thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to help. We'll talk to you next time.